Excellent. All right. All right. So we're starting with part one, and we're going to talk about chapters 1 through 4, which this section is called, that's called something. Essence. Part one, essence.
Up to there.
Well, that's where it starts. Part one. Yeah. So this is what we're discussing today. Part one, essence, which is the first 4 chapters. So the power of choice. It talks a lot about this. Remind me of Dave Blanchard talks about this all the time. I want to, I get to, I choose to, instead of I have to or whatever. So like thinking about having a choice and not letting life happen to you. I really
hmm
liked that. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, he says the essentialist thinks I choose to. Only a few things really matter, and what are the trade-offs? I like that. Some of the things I wrote down for this first part. He said, once you give yourself permission to stop trying to do it all, can you make your highest contribution towards the things that really matter? Oh, hey, Amy.
Hi, I just hopped on.
Good, good. I was like, we're starting. So,
Thank you for doing this. I am so grateful because I've needed to be part of community and get back into progress so bad. So I really appreciate you doing it.
thank you. Thanks for joining us. It's so good to have you.
hmm
Um, we just started. So I was just kind of talking about the first chapter, um, the whole like I choose to mindset. Um, but any thoughts on that quote? I'll read it again. Once you give yourself permission to stop trying to all, can you make your highest contribution towards the things that really matter?
hmm
Have you had any thoughts on that or experiences or?
Um, I highlighted random things in this chapter. Um, can you say that quote again that you just said? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Once you give yourself permission to stop trying to do it all, can you make your highest contribution towards the things that really matter?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. Because I am, always feel like I'm busy and I'm running around with my hair on fire. And when I think about it, it's like, in what areas am I just spinning my wheels and not actually like succeeding versus like try, I guess we just think so much like we have to do, like it's not an option, just do, and instead of like, I guess just slowing down to realize like, where can I just focus on one thing this week? Like, what's the top priority? I don't know if that's kind of,
Totally makes sense.
but
I love
but
that.
yeah, this book was a big eye opener for me, and it helped me kind of reevaluate. Well, this first few chapters, and just ask myself like, what are my priorities? Because it seems like I'm just, like they say, living a life of design or default, and I'm just kind of lit like not being intentional about anything really, and it's not, and I come from years of coaching where I was very intentional about everything, and so when you've been there and you've lived that way and it's kind of slipped away,
Mm.
um once you know what you're missing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's powerful. So has it helped you kind of like
Oh
have you
yeah.
like kind of taken time
Yeah.
to figure out
Yeah.
some of that? Okay.
Yeah, because I work during the week, and on the weekends I'm always planning things or doing things, and like it's like the need to please, can't say no to anybody type thing, and so I'm just running ragged, and I told my sister this week. Actually, it was like because I had started reading it last week, so I had already had plans for the weekend with Easter and everything, and I said after Easter, like I'm going to like kind of just disconnect. I need to stop being so busy because well, for one, my health is slipping. And like, I know that I'm a social eater. Like, if I'm around everybody and everything, I want everything. And I said, I need to just kind of get my priorities in line, which is first and foremost, I need to get solid on like detox from sugar. So that means I need to kind of withdraw from social events for now to detox and give myself a chance to kind of just get control over things, and then slowly maybe work in a few things, but just start being very mindful and selective as to, is this essential, or is this just not important? um so yeah, just reevaluating my priorities is what I've kind of taken away from a lot of these chapters. Is just like I seem to be just like this, feel like this fish out of water, just flopping around everywhere instead of being just, I don't
Hmm.
know if that makes sense.
Totally.
I
That
hope.
makes sense to me. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. That's powerful. Do you have any thoughts, Keslin?
Um, no, there was a part in here that says it's not about how to get more things done, it's about how to get the right things done. And as I'm looking through this book, I'm thinking, you know, there's a lot of people, a lot of men that I know that are jack of all trades and masters of none. And it
Mm,
kind of talks about that in here, is that do you want to be good at one thing? Because I've done a lot of stuff in my life, but am I really good at any of it?
mm. Totally. I mean, that's what really stuck out to me. And I loved some of the diagrams, like, what was it? The one that has like energy and it shows the circle and like all the arrows going out, when you're trying to do everything. And then it has the one where it's like a circle
Oh
and then the
yeah,
straight arrow up. I can't find it, but
yeah,
um
on page
like
6.
that's me too. Like I tend to get busy and like do all these things. And it's funny because like I was talking to a therapist the other day and I was just telling her like I'm trying to simplify my life. I get to doing too much and I'm like getting burned out. And I said, but the thing is like I'm not doing things unintentionally. Like it's things I really care about, and that's the problem. Like it's, and she's like, "Oh, well, most women are just like, they have this problem with people pleasing and saying yes." And I'm like, "No, that's not my problem." Like I just like about these things but it's like too much right now. And so anyway, so
You're
Amy,
passionate about a lot of things, so
yeah,
you're going
I'm
to have
passionate
to,
about it. And she was like, and that's good. But I'm like, but
yeah.
I know, but it's like I still, I don't want to like diffuse my energy. Like I get spread too thin sometimes. But like for me, what really hit me was at the very end of chapter 4 about the burners. You remember that part about the burners?
Yeah.
Like that. So I wrote down like my burners and I was like, okay, I am going to turn off a couple of my burners, and at least adjust them because I have just all these things and it's like really hard to cut any of it out, but I kind of have figured out, okay, this is where I'm going to really put my energy right now. So this was like powerful for me. It was like life changing. Um, anyway. So let's see. And if you have any quotes or anything you want to share, please do. Just looking at my notes. I did like the question that I found on the study guide. I think ChatGPT came up with it. But it says, well, there was a couple discussion prompts, like where do you feel stretched too thin right now? Um, And then what does less but better look like in your current season? I really like that question. And if you have any thoughts, I would love to hear it because I'm still trying to figure it out. Like less but better. Doing less, but in those things that we do, it's like better.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear your thoughts if you have any on that.
Where is that at? Because I probably
Um,
highlighted it. Is
oh,
that what chapter
I
was that in?
no, it's so I created like a book club plan and it's a Google Doc.
Okay.
I just had these two discussion prompts that I got.
Oh,
ChatGPT came up with them for me. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's definitely I think true, for me as well. Like in what areas? Probably every area, but if I'm trying to like really think of something like for instance, like let's just say food planning. If the more I simplify things, the easier it is for me. Um like if I have 5 or 6 go-to meals that I like and enjoy, um I'm more likely to kind of stay on track. But if I'm trying to do something different from week to week to week to week and change it up a lot, it's kind of like I get over, I don't want to say overwhelmed, but like it's not as effortless,
Hmm.
whereas, so it's like it's still doable, but it's not just like automatic and like become second nature type thing. So like simplifying things makes it more effortless for me to do fewer things, I guess, but it's just like that ease comes in, it kicks in versus trying to just be more. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but
Totally.
um, yeah, but it kind of relates to like everything, really. The more you have on your plate, the more overwhelmed, I guess, you get, and but we seem to think it's almost like our brains trick us into thinking like we start to rationalize like, oh yeah, I can do this. Like he was talking about, like if you only have 10 minutes and you think of it takes you 10 minutes to get somewhere, but then you have the idea that, oh, I've got to write that email or something or respond to that email. So you think, oh, I have time. I'll just do it real quick. But it's
Yeah.
like you're going to be late. And so it's hard for us to say in that moment, like to use that discernment and say, you know what, I know it takes me 10 minutes to get there and it's 6:50 and I have to be there at 7. But the idea of the email popped in your mind. So it's like we don't have that discernment of saying, I can't have both. I can't be on time and do this email. So I need to choose. And it's
Mhm.
for some reason we just think we're capable of kind of like, you know, doing both when our brains know better, like we know better, but in that moment we think, oh, I can do this, or um that time will just appear. Like, no, it won't. And so I do it all the time. I always think like, and I end up running late for work because I procrastinate and I'm like, oh, I can do one. I like to get up at 5, but I don't really have to leave my house till 7. But I need to get ready. It takes me 30 minutes to get ready. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to get my fuelings and things, everything packed that I need to bring and put in my car if I need to take out the trash or anything. And it takes me, I want to do a 20-minute workout, which, but I also want to sit and read books because I do a lot of books. But I always think like I'll have an alarm that goes off at like 6:40 telling me I need to get up, but somehow I'll think, oh, I can just finish this chapter, or oh, I can start the next chapter. It's only 10 minutes. And then I'm rushing out the door, but I do it to myself all the time. So I think it's a time thing for me, is I think I can squeeze all these things in that I can't.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I do that all the time. Um, yeah, and it kind of reminds me of when they talked about trade-offs. Um,
Mhm.
because like, and the example that really hit me because in my job, I'm gonna mute Kathleen real quick. In my job, like I work with project management office and it's all the strategy department and like resources. And I don't know if you remember the example in the book, but they talked about an IT leader and they were told like, okay, you have to just tell us the 5 top priority projects out of there was 18. And like they couldn't, like they were like, I think they took off one. And they were talking about how like when you have these resources and you have like too much, like not enough capacity, like nothing's getting done in a good way. Like, it's
Mhm.
like getting spread way too thin and things don't get done well, so it's like a perfect example of like the doing, well, trying the opposite of doing less, but better. Um, Anyway, but I sit in meetings like this all the time where leaders will not make trade-offs. They will not say, okay, no, this is more important. They'll be like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, this is, but we still got to do all these other things. And it's like, that really hit me too, because I kind of always felt like, well, a lot of times I feel like you get the message like you can do it all. Like you can do this and you can do this, and so I'm like, oh, I can do it all, And I've realized though that like it's taking a toll, like feeling that way. I mean, I think you can do things that you want, but I think there has to be trade-offs sometimes, like in a season, maybe focusing more on something than
Mhm.
another. So that's kind of where I'm trying to restructure my thoughts on it, is like stop thinking you can do everything, because I do that. Like I think, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I feel like, I'm totally frazzled and I'm spread too thin. So anyway,
Maybe it's kind of a like an ego thing in a sense, like I'm doing it too, but like
yeah,
we, instead of like acknowledging like, okay, I've got to choose, I can't do it all and I need to acknowledge that and accept that, and then decide, put the priorities in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll start with one, and if I have time I'll go to two, but like just maybe pausing and accepting and acknowledging that, we've got to, that we can't do it, that there's not enough time to be successful and get it all done the way we want it to be done, you know.
I
I
think
don't.
you're right. I think
Mhm.
it's, yeah, I think it is. And I think it's an ego thing too. But I also think for me, it's like, I feel like so responsible for everything. And so it's hard for me to like let go of things and be like, no, I'm not going to take this, somebody else can do it. That's part of my problem, I know.
Mhm.
So anyway, so yeah, I liked that. That part was really good. Let's see. But yeah, in that, on the topic of trade-offs, he quoted Thomas Sowell. This is in the last chapter we read. There are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. I mean that,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's like the whole idea, like we only have so much capacity, we only have so many resources. You can't overextend them to get things done well. So
Yeah, I was trying to think of an example where, like on 43, I highlighted it where it says, working hard is important, but more effort does not necessarily yield more results. Less but better does. So, like, I was trying to think of in my life, like, how have I slimmed things down or done less but gotten better results? Um, and because I know that's true, but I was trying to just pinpoint, I guess, like to prove it to myself, like
yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all have kind of had an example in life where you're doing so much and you're putting in a lot of effort, but then you cut back and you started doing less and somehow you noticed a better outcome or better results.
That's what I'm working on trying to find out too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, the only thing I would have noticed, just from like trying to be more intentional and trying to not feel so spread out, is just that I feel more connected to myself and not so. I think when I'm doing too much and I feel spread thin, it's like I don't have my heart in certain things. It's like I just feel like I'm like running a marathon and I'm exhausted. So the energy is lacking big time. So it's kind of like if I'm trying to inspire people or trying to be, a really like if I'm trying to be a good coach and I'm just like exhausted, it's like you're not, it's kind of like you're not practicing what you preach kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're kind of doing less and like, kind of maintaining your energy and then you're able to give more, I think. I don't know. That's
Mm-hmm.
not specific, but that's just kind of what I I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, I want to know like real examples of this, like doing less and yielding more results. Because I think we get the opposite message most of the time, like, no, work hard. You got to keep working hard, and that's how you do it. So,
Yeah. I really liked that one quote at the beginning. I think it was chapter 3, the unimportance of practically everything. So basically it's saying like pretty much everything is unimportant, but there's just a few, I don't know, it was that hit me like, wow.
uh,
So true.
that's true. It's kind of like your example of meal planning, right? Like if you put tons of effort to like make totally different things every week and you spend all this time, it's like, is that really important? Like, you know what I mean? And then you're spending all this time and energy. Kind of reminds me of that. Just like you
Mhm.
could do that with so many things in life. Just put way too much effort and
Yeah.
unimportant things. But well, we lost Keslin. Just had to. Let's see. Was there anything else, Amy, you can
I
think of?
mean, it all is so good. I highlighted so much. Um, I liked when it said when we forget our ability to choose, we learn to be helpless. Drip by drip, we allow our power to be taken away until we end up becoming a function of other people's choices. Basically, like if you're not going to take responsibility to use discernment and say no to things and be kind of like take back the power of your life, then other people will decide for you what you're doing. And so I guess like that learned helplessness where we just become like, well, we just throw our hands in the air and just say, well, I've just got to survive, and live with whatever's thrown at me and take it, versus just kind of, I guess, like the way Dr. A says it is being the dominant force in your life and basically taking charge, being in the driver's seat. Like you become the pilot of your life instead
Mhm.
of like you're just going to be a passenger, and let 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 whoever drag you any which way. um so you've got to
Mhm.
kind of get in the driver's seat.
Totally.
That's kind of what I thought about there. But I don't know why it made me think of, I think it goes deeper for me. Because it's almost like when things come up, I get that, it's almost like I get that feeling or that instinct like, oh my god, this is overextending myself. But I but I don't want to say no because it's like I feel like it's hurting somebody's feelings. So I think it kind of goes into like the people pleasing and like needing to be liked. And that's I learned like through this chapter that it's more about that, I think, because it's like in my day-to-day life, I do probably procrastinate on things longer than I should, but a lot of the problems like with weekends and I should be staying home and focusing on just having downtime and cleaning up my house, but I tend to think, "Oh, I'll get it all done during the week or something. I can go do this and this and this and this." But it's also the uncomfortable feeling of just saying no. So I actually found a list of nice ways to decline things and I was like, this is what I actually need to learn to do. I need to actually learn how to say like thanks for thinking of me, but I've already made plans. Even if my plan is to have no plans, that's a plan, you know? But I don't know why. It's like, I think I think I'm not comfortable um, with hurting people's feelings or saying no or owning my life, I guess, or my time.
It's such a common thing. I think we all struggle to say no. I was going to tell you though, I was in this workshop last week and this lady, it's in her class, she actually brought up this book, but she also mentioned this book called The Power of No, I think.
Mhm.
I'll have to look at it. But anyway, she taught us how to say no in nice ways. It was really cool. Like there's this kind of like this structure of it. it was like you kind of you're essentially saying yes, and then you say and anyway, I'll share it like in the chat, but it was really helpful. So
Yeah.
it's I think saying yes to people is common, and I think we all do it for different reasons too. Even though I'm not a people pleaser, I think for me, I don't know if it's a pride thing. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So is it not uncomfortable, like when you get it, or if you don't really want to do something, do you not feel like a sense of pressure to
Well,
say,
I think it depends on the situation, right? Or who it
Mhm.
is. I'm not saying it's always easy to say no.
Yeah,
I think I just have pretty good boundaries, and I just if it's like if I'm not just really feeling it, I just find a way to be like, you know, but it depends. Like it depends on the situation.
yeah,
Um, but in general, I don't really people please too much, but it kind of helps when you have a lot going on and you're like, sorry, I got, you know, like I just, you know, can only do so
yeah.
much, right? Oh, hey, Jed, made it for the last 3 minutes.
So, dude,
Woohoo!
I'm in trouble. I knew I had something. I was listening to Dave Blanchard the whole
Who else
time.
Oh,
is,
And
who's on
then,
the iPhone? Somebody else is here.
anyway, I'm so mad. I did
It's
read
the
the
other
reading.
Jenna or
Oh,
Jennifer.
hey, Jen and
I
Jen.
just joined
I'm
as
so
well,
sorry.
Jen.
We're
Well,
twins, man.
unfortunately, I'm on the basic plan and it will end in, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. So just to
Okay.
warn you.
No,
But
it's
we're
fine.
recording, so
I really, yeah, I'll catch up on it. I was so grateful for this book. I feel like the principles from the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership has helped me say no a lot more and like center my values and understand that. But it's like this process that you have to continue to like kind of like the analogy said with the closet of like organizing your closet, you have to keep and you have to have a system. And
yeah.
so that kind of stood out to me. Lots of things, but it's going to be interesting to kind of take more time to contemplate and to reflect and to journal and those different things too, which I've gotten out of the habit since I've been working on my house. So
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Other Jen, did you have anything you want to share in our final minutes?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Thank you. It's because I'm late, and otherwise I'm pretty sure I'd have a lot to share. But
Next
maybe
time.
next week, okay?
Yes, next time. Well, we had a good discussion on this first part. There were a lot of good things. So next time we will do, I think it's called Explore is the next part. And I believe Jen Walker, you are facilitating, correct? Awesome.
yes, and then can you do one favor to me? If you've already done it, then I'll just watch the playback. But I was trying to understand how you were saying that we have these resources if we paid for Audible or for the hand version. I was
Yeah.
going to do that today, and I've listened to it 2 times for the reading today, but I just couldn't remember what you were
Talking about the
referencing.
challenge, the 21-day challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do anything if you like with my book, and I think with some audibles, he gives like a free code for the 21-day challenge, and I think you just have access to the videos basically. But they're just little prompts, and I was just going to post them in our
Okay.
group every
So
day.
you'll
They're
post
pretty
the
simple.
prompts.
Yeah, I posted
Okay.
day one, which was just like read chapter one and discuss it, you know. So we
Okay.
kind of, but yeah.
Okay. Got that. I was gonna find this thread. Thank you. My internet wasn't working half the day too. That was crazy. Anyway, keep going.
We're glad you made it. Well, we're pretty much out of time, but yeah, I'm just grateful. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Keslin, Jen, and Jen. Thank you for joining. And we'll
thank you
see
for
you.
hosting, and thank you for starting another book club because it's very helpful to do it together.
I'm glad you joined. Thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, everybody.